I think what we will see, and that this is somehow our capacity that we can speak from as a contemporary art organization that has been now for 15 years dedicated to the ocean, we'll see a dramatic sea level rise. We'll see a dramatic sea level rise, which obviously will have impacts on coastal architecture, but then also just migration, massive migrations. We'll see a lot stronger hurricanes, storm surges, all of this, which will have dramatic effects on coastal communities, but not only coastal communities, obviously. But this is somehow the place that I feel comfortable speaking from. So what does that mean actually for architecture, and what does it mean for materials? It means for materials that they need to be resisting or withstanding marine environments, but they also need to invite co-architects that could then be reef builders or coral builders, and so on. And so we embarked on this project that is now turned into a multi-year, multifaceted project with PhD programs, with a huge collaborative effort in Denmark, restoring the stone reef in front of the Danish coast, and so on. But also really looking into material science and animal behavior, saying, okay, if this was the condition that we're dealing with, and if this was somehow the ethos that we build with, right? So that it's not just building against nature, but actually building with nature and building with other than human species in mind. And then we need to kind of figure out what they like, right? Everything that we're doing here is trying to, by working transdisciplinarily, together with artists, with scientists, with environmentalists, conservationists, and so on. The big question is how to contextualize information. First and foremost, how do we make information, data that we have, models that we receive? How do we make it meaningful for the people that are actually affected by it? Because I think there's an enormous gap. So I believe that contextualization is understood differently in that sense, but I believe that the work that we're doing is trying to achieve two things. On the one hand, somehow collapse the timeline between the forefront of thinking and then the application of doing, right? And we're working through artistic practices to engage not only audiences but constituencies that would otherwise not come together, because artists can do that. But on the other hand, really land, contextualize, and make meaningful what this actually, what all of this information means. And so we're trying to, in our work in Venice, for example, at Ocean Space, we're trying more and more to bring in regenerative, restorative practices into the public program, so that that a care for the environment, a regeneration of the environment, or of ecosystems, a restoration of ecosystems becomes a cultural practice rather than a practice that we have to do to kind of avert the catastrophe, because scientists and politicians have told us we see such an erosion of trust in science and politics that we need to shift that away from, or partially away, and integrate it into other practices that are not necessarily experiencing the same erosion of trust